Hey everyone, OmnicientWolf here, and I wanted to discuss organization in OBS. It's important to keep your scenes and sources organized, and here are some best practices for doing just that. We'll be talking about nested scenes, groups, and more. Stay tuned until the end for some additional plugins that you can use to further keep everything organized. In OBS, we have our list of scenes and our list of sources. You can think of scenes as your canvas and sources as your paints, which in OBS can be a number of different things, such as media sources, video capture devices, and more. Now, specifically for scenes, this brings me to the following tip. Use empty scenes as dividers. This is particularly useful if you have multiple scenes. As you can see on my screen, I have my streaming, my nested scenes, my triggers and redemptions, and more set up as empty scenes and dividers. Once again, I repeat, they contain 0 sources. Their purpose is simply to better organize the list of scenes that you have so that you can navigate it easily. Next, we have sources. This is where we'll start a discussion with groups. Let's take a look at my scene here called NS Alerts. PS, NS for me stands for nested scenes, which we'll come back to soon. As you can see, I have a folder structure in place for each of my different types of alerts. This is what groups allow you to do. You can select multiple sources and place them into a folder structure that you can expand and minimize as needed. You can also color code these groups by right-clicking, navigating to Set Color, and choosing the color that you desire for further organization. It's really important to state this, but groups are arbitrary in the sense that they don't really affect how OBS runs these scenes, but rather just places your sources neatly together. Another important note and reminder is that the order of these sources matter. Regardless of whether they're in a group or not, be careful grouping your sources and pay attention to the order that they are in. Let's switch gears and talk about nested scenes. Nested scenes are essentially scenes within scenes, and you can create a whole inception of nested scenes and go deeper if needed. So what's the purpose of a nested scene? Well, in short, if you have sources that you want to appear in multiple scenes, it's a lot easier to simply create a nested scene and drop that into the scene rather than create and replicate the same individual sources multiple times in different scenes. Big advantage here is if you wanted to change different properties for your alerts, for example, you can simply navigate to the nested scene, make any changes as needed, and that would be reflected in every single scene that you have these alerts in. Another benefit of nested scenes is keeping your list of sources clean. Right now, I have a nested scene called GIFs, and within the GIF group, I have about 17 different GIFs that activate on particular commands, particular channel redemptions. Now, if we navigate back to my main scene with no webcam, as you can see, I have one nested scene called GIFs. That's it, that's all. I want to have 17 individual sources that I need to manage on every single scene that I want these on. Hopefully at this point, you have a better idea of how to use empty scenes to better organize your list of scenes, how to leverage groups, and how to use nested scenes within other scenes. Now we'll be moving on to the bonus portion of the video. Bonus number 1, instead of creating multiple scenes to account for different webcam layouts, you can use the Move plugin to have your webcam move within the same scene. If you go to your scene, right-click and select Filters, this is where you would set up your move values of whatever you want to move your source or sources, depending on how many sources you want to get moving on your active scene. Click on the plus icon, select Move Source, name it whatever you like, and this is where you would select your source, and underneath you'd find the transform, and this is where you would select where you wanted to move on the screen. Now, this is not a Move plugin tutorial, so I'm just going to show you what I have set up currently. So just to give you some additional context, I used to have 6 different scenes for my webcam, essentially, and that was the only thing that changed on my scene was the webcam. And I had one for my top left, top right, mid left, bottom right, bottom left, depending on the game and where it felt like it was best to position my webcam. Now, that being said, having it all within one scene is just a lot easier to manage. And as a result of that, I give you an example of what that looks like. Let's say I wanted to move my camera to the bottom left. I'll go ahead and select this icon over here that I've set up, click on the eye, and everything will move to the bottom left. It went by fast. You may have noticed that at the same time, I had other values that follow that also showed up and popped up with the eye. So when I switch back to the top left, you see how Facecam Overlay, 3D Alerts, Follow Banners, and GIFs all got the eye icon pop up. You can set it up so that when one activates, the other in the group activates. So you can have multiple things change and move at once. You don't have to do it one at a time. Once set up, you would then set a hotkey in OBS, or you can create an action on your Stream Deck if you have one to make sure that you show that filter that we just set up. And by showing that filter, you'll have the move action take place. Bonus number 2, Downstream Keyer. That is another useful plugin in OBS and something you'd want to use if you have sources that you would like to have displayed regardless of which scene is up. And also if you don't mind these sources taking priority and going in front of any other sources you have in your current scene. My recommendation is to create a nested scene specific for the Downstream Keyer. For me, I have this labeled as NS-DSK. NS for nested scene, DSK for Downstream Keyer. Once you have this set up, you want to go ahead and navigate to Docs and click on Downstream Keyer. Here is my Downstream Keyer doc, and you just want to click on the plus icon to add your scene. Before you close this doc, make sure you actually have it selected to make sure that it is, in fact, active. Items that I have here include a welcome pop-up for users that chat for the first time, raid effects when getting raided and also raiding out, hype train animation, and some fun redemptions. Here's an example of what that looks like. As you can see, I am currently in my overlay picture-in-picture scene, and in my list of sources, I don't have any sources tied to the NS-DSK scene that we saw earlier. That being said, if I activate the channel point redemption for Teabag, I get Teabag. And that's a wrap. I stayed away from talking about things like StreamerBot and Stream Deck, which can certainly help automate a lot of this for you. But I wanted to focus the video more so on organizational tools rather than productivity ones. That being said, hope you found this useful. And if you have any questions, just let me know. OmnicientWolf out.